Just thinking back to 2001, we all have that image, I guess, in our minds of the Twin Towers collapsing. And within 24 hours of that happening in Birmingham, there were actions being taken by people on the extremes, largely against the Muslim community. And the story, which is now quite well known in some areas, about Rabbi Tann from the Singers Hill Synagogue making the connection with Central Mosque, because his view, which I remember him saying to me and to others quite a lot, was that a threat to one faith is a threat to all faiths. At that point, there weren't connections between the leaders of the faith communities. They didn't know each other.
The group started 20 years ago, and the root cause was Islamophobia. And Islamophobia, as we understand, anybody hating any religion is because they do not understand what the religion is about and what those people following those religions mean, the people of faith. So we are honored and privileged to be one of the founding members and the means and the cause of this faith leaders group coming into existence.
It is the respect and deeper values which unite them. What can we do for each other? To be selfless. But to be just selfless is not adequate. You have to go beyond yourself and help others. And that is what you see in that meeting of Rabbi Tann and the Central Mosque Imam. And they came here and I said, yes, I welcome you. There was a lot of stereotyping at that time. I read a newspaper. It stated something like, all Muslims are not terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. And the Sikhs were also suffering because of mistaken identities. So these deep values, I think, and concern for each other is what provides the glue for the Birmingham faith leaders.
I believe in the group itself there is an extraordinary quality which really has its root in its origin. And I think that quality of openness and a desire to understand one another really is the foundation of the Birmingham Faith Leaders Group.
Thank you.
Yes, we do learn from one another about each other's faith traditions, and we see it in the way in which leadership is expressed and is recognized within those. But beyond that, there is something very deep that we learn about our own tradition when we are together.
Amazing, but we've continued to meet, and thank you, Jonathan, for ensuring that that's taken place.
On the 1st of November 2007, I took over as Chief Minister from Rabbi Tann, and he was going to continue to assist me, and he would look after the Interfaith Department. Unfortunately, tragically, only 10 days later, he passed away. I remember the next day calling up my executive to say to them, actually, you know what, I'm going to take this role on. We cannot allow the good work and the good name which Rabbi Tann had created to just fall away. And I went along to the first meeting shortly after that. We decided to create the position of chairman, and John Beard was the first one for 2 years. I was his deputy, and after that it seems that the deputy then becomes the chairman. So I am now the chairman.
Thank you for being here, and look forward to the next meeting.
I think the value is immeasurable. I don't like to keep quoting the Dalai Lama, but one of the things that he says is, we're here to be happy. We're not here to cause problems, we're here to be happy. And that's working with the faith leaders and passing the knowledge on to the younger generations is about making it work properly. A lot of people think the faith leaders is about lobbying for this, lobbying for that. It's not. It's about building relationships. So I can get on the phone and say, Bishop David, Archbishop Bernard, and sometimes people come to me and I say, yeah, look, I can't help you with that, but I know who can, and I get on the phone and I speak to them and say, this person needs a bit of help or a bit of guidance, and they say, fine, give them my number, and we sort it out.
But that's the whole idea. If you call yourselves faith leaders, and if you can lead it for the common good of the people, because there is nothing to be gained personally, you're only doing it for the humanity, for the people of this city, for people of different faiths, different divergence. There is a distinct vividness about different faiths, but to come together and work together and respect each other. The value of the Faith Leaders Group is enormous. We work in common good for the humanity as a whole, which is more powerful, more meaningful, and more distinctive than the disputes which you have in this world.
There have been lots of highlights, so it's hard to pick one particular one. But I remember one of our earliest away days when we really got to know each other and we talked about our faith journeys and had time to talk about what really motivates us as faith leaders. That was very important. I remember various things from the 10th anniversary. I remember the encouragement of the City Council very much.
In the wake of one of the most horrifying terrorist events in history, leaders from Birmingham's faith communities met here 10 years ago to the day. 10th anniversary of the Twin Towers and all the other disasters that happened around 9/11 had this extraordinary interconnection between the faiths in Birmingham. We must not perpetuate the cycle of violence against innocent civilians. In this city, communities of all faiths exist. At this time, we would urge people to turn to God rather than seek political advantage or point the finger of blame. The reason that Christians and other faiths in this city are able to stand together for the common good is that we're clear about what we believe, but we are prepared to get on as friends. We're prepared to give each other hospitality. We're prepared to work together on things that are of common interest. And in showing solidarity, as we did on the steps of the Central Mosque this morning, it is a sign to others that at least the leaders of the communities are making this extra effort to get on with each other. So to be a Birmingham citizen is to be a citizen of the world, but also to have that special, generous gift of hospitality to others.
The 10-year anniversary will always remain in my mind as something very special and important. And being there at that 10-year anniversary where we tried to replicate what happened at the beginning of Rabbi Tann standing there on the steps of the mosque and me as his successor was something very, very humbling and something I'll always remember.
And we will build on the foundations of tolerance and respect which have been developed by this group.
That really was a very moving event because it did show that the leaders of the city's faiths had moved from that period of terrible uncertainty where the world was going to a much more firm and recognized situation where people were working together and were actually achieving things and building things for the future.
I remember well being on the steps of the mosque on that wonderful occasion, and in the wake of that meeting too, travelling around to our different places of worship so that we could be together on pilgrimage and meeting with people in those places, just to remind ourselves of the remarkable story of those 10 years, but also to be in touch with the people with whom we wanted to share the story of the coming 10 years.
We remember all victims of terrorism, conflict, injustice.
Going to the Peace Garden was a space where we could all put our vibrations together. And there's a good feeling, and you can influence things.
The visit to the Punjab was unique, outstanding, something which I hadn't dreamt would be like that. It happened sometimes back in October 2014. We stayed in the same place, we traveled together. We were in the same bus, we visited the Golden Temple together. And the roots of Sikhism as far as the 10th Guru was concerned. And we may have been different faith leaders of different communities, but we were like friends. It was a unique experience, something which we all are going to remember. And that bond of closeness between us was great. End of the day, we begin to realize we are human beings. We are one. We may have different faiths. End of the day, the God is the same.
The future for the Faith Leaders Group, I think, is very, very positive. If we look back 20 years ago, we did not have this. 20 years on, we have made so much progress. There are fewer people identifying themselves as following a religion. But at the same time, what we have experienced, especially during the pandemic, there are many, many people who believe in something. They weren't following a particular religion, but at time of difficulty, they would want and they would seek some prayers, some spiritual guidance. So it is really vital for faith leaders to promote themselves, to be seen and visible out there for anybody and everybody who needs that guidance and that assistance.
Places of education, colleges, schools, universities, they have to work together. We have common issues. It's no good working in silos. Our future lies in our youth. What we can do for youth is very important. This is why education becomes so important. So we have to be very careful how we treat our youth. They have come out with a loud voice. What about this environment? What a sort of planet are we going to leave for these people?
So we have been working with Footsteps, which is the Birmingham Council of Faith's movement towards zero carbon. And we want to join with them in working to help the City Council reach its objective of zero carbon by 2030, because we think it's really important. As faith leaders, we're not just concerned about faith itself, but we're concerned about the world and the values that faith teaches us to cherish.
We've got lots and lots of questions to ask the leaders from these different faiths.
I think religious education is tremendously important for all children, and for all children to learn about the values that religion teaches, and as the Sacré syllabus does, to teach those values to our children so that they can be better people.
They are accountable to their God.
That's why the work of Sacré is really important, because we need to educate the young people. It's a question of a lot of problems is caused by ignorance, lack of knowledge. And as a Buddhist, we say enlighten them in terms of this is what we think is good. That's what it's all about. It's not a question of, oh, he's a Hindu, he's a Sikh, whatever. We're all brothers, no matter what.
My hope for the next 10, 20 years of the Faith Leaders Group is that we are able to not only remain as relevant as we are now, or we have been within a city over the last 20 years, but we actually continue to grow.
We have to extend our hand for common good, for humanity. It has to be powerful, it has to be distinctive, it has to be meaningful, so that we can make a society a better place to live in for everyone concerned.
I hope that we will continue and even more be a voice for what's good in humanity, what's good in society. We will broaden our representation and we will bring in some younger people.
When you sit around the table and discuss faith, it really makes us reflect about our own faith as well, and how many things we have in common. That makes us reflect how wonderful religion and faith is.
Each of us are friends, but I think getting to know each other as we have been able to by regularly meeting, and the commitment to meeting as well. And I think it's an expression of affection, real love that there is there.
This whole Birmingham Faith Leaders Group is built upon relations and feeling the pain for each other. So relationships and connections, this is our future. One humanity, one planet, peace. Peace inside, peace externally.